As we start today, I want to mention something that I've seen around town. I've seen this sign on some different overpasses and bridges and things around town, and I think it popped up during the COVID stuff. Somebody decided to just makeshift signs that they put up in different places, various places that I've been seeing. Has anybody seen this picture, this sign up? And it'll get thrown up. The next slide here, it won't get thrown up. I'm not sure why. That's not in the slides. That's Jeremy's fault? No, I'm just kidding. Has anybody seen the sign that says "Thank God" on any of the overpasses? Anybody seen that? Just makeshift. Anybody? I can't see. So I think there's a few that said yes. Anyway, I've been seeing this around. I had a picture of it. Not sure why that didn't get in my slides. Hopefully the rest of them did get in there. I've seen it around. And I'm always a little bit wondering about this. It makes me wonder what was the meaning behind this, because you can kind of look at this in different ways. What is this person saying? Are they saying thank God like, thank God? Like, would you think already? I mean, maybe that's what they're saying. Like, they're the only person on the earth that thinks, and that you need to start thinking a little bit more, that I need to think, at which point maybe I'm just a little bit offended by this sign. I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure that out. Or maybe it's thank God, like, God, you need to start thinking. I see what's going on down here on earth, and you're not really thinking like I think you ought to be thinking about all the things that are going on around here. I mean, maybe that's what they meant. Or maybe they mean thank God. Think about the things of God, and whatever it is that you're going through and the challenges of life, think about the things of God. I'm choosing to believe that that's what they mean by that, right? I'm not sure, but maybe that's what they're saying. It's a reminder maybe to all of us just to, think about the things of God a little bit. And today, as we conclude our series, I'm hoping that this will be a reminder. I think a lot of these things that we're going to be talking about and the challenge that is before us today will be a reminder for us, but how are we going to receive that? What is it going to be a challenge to us? Is it going to encourage us to continue to move forward in what we know to be the things that God wants for us? Or is it just going to be just another talk? Let's let it be a reminder to continue to grow stronger. That's what we're talking about through this series, is that God wants us to develop. He wants to build our faith. He wants us to grow stronger. Our goal in this is to be stronger in our relationships, both with people and with God, and to be stronger in maybe our finances, be stronger in our habits and in the things that we do on a regular basis, be stronger in our health, be stronger in our family, be stronger in our spiritual walk, in knowing and understanding the things of God. How are we stronger? We've talked about this. We've said this over and over again. I'm going to say it over and over again today. What we do consistently makes us stronger, right? If you consistently go and exercise and work out, you become stronger, healthier, you become stronger in that area of your life. What you do consistently makes you stronger. Here's our theme verse, 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whatever you do, whatever it is, whether you eat or drink, whatever it is that you do it all for the glory of God. What is it that we're doing regularly that maybe isn't the best? Maybe it doesn't glorify God all that much. Or what areas are we really winning in, and we're allowing others to see the goodness of God through our actions, because whatever it is that we do, we're bringing glory to God. That's a question we want to challenge ourselves with as we go through this, because what we do consistently makes us stronger. It brings glory to God. Now, over the last couple of weeks, here's what we've kind of focused on. We've talked about our thoughts, right? How do our thoughts honor God? Do the things we think about honor God? We've talked about the power of our thoughts. We've talked about last week the power of our words. Here's what we know. Your life is always moving in the direction of your strongest thoughts. What are your strongest thoughts? What are the things that you think about often? Is it not always positive, encouraging, good things? Or are they things of life and encouragement? What are the things that you say? Here's what we know. Your words are forming the destiny that you are walking into. What is it that you're saying regularly? Are they things of health and life and encouragement, or are they negative, discouraging things? Where can we get better? Where can we get stronger when it comes to our thoughts and our words? What you think and what you say matters. That's what we've kind of been hitting on. Up to this point, however, here we can be guilty of just good intentions, if you will. For instance, I can say to my wife that I love her, and I can say that over and over again, but if I don't show that, eventually she's going to let me know that just my words aren't quite enough, right? I can say it all I want to. If I only think about bringing her flowers on her birthday or on Valentine's Day or whatever that's coming up, by the way, guys, got to remember that. If I only think about it but don't really follow through with that, good intentions don't really measure up, don't really mean a whole lot, right? I can tell her after the fact, oh, well, you know what, I meant to, and that's supposed to be good enough? I don't think so. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You got to follow through. I can get a membership at a gym. So I heard some chuckles. I can get a membership at a gym, but if I don't go to the gym and actually do some work, do some exercise, it doesn't mean a whole lot, right? You've got to follow through with it. I can have a cabinet full of vitamins and all those kind of things, and I do. As a matter of fact, my wife is great at keeping us stocked up on vitamins. Whether we take those regularly or not, then they don't do a whole lot. They don't benefit us if we don't consistently take them and allow them to boost our immune system or whatever it is. You see, we can say or think good things, but if we don't follow through also it starts there, but we also have to follow through with and act upon those things. And so that's kind of where we're going and leading things today. We can think about things, we can even say things, but we have to be willing to follow through. There has to be some action, because if not, we will not grow stronger. James chapter 2 talks about this very thing when he says, faith without works is dead. What is he saying? You can have all the faith in the world and you can say or believe or whatever, but if you don't follow through with that, if there's not some action to it, it doesn't mean a whole lot, right? There needs to be some action behind our faith. There needs to be action behind what we think and what we say. Now, you might say, Jason, thinking better and making sure my thoughts line up, or saying things, and not being negative in my words. Those things, I can work on those things. But, putting some action to this and really stepping out and doing some things differently, that's going to require a little bit more of me. It's going to be a little bit harder. Not sure that I'm ready for that. Here's the deal. You're right. It is going to require a little bit more. It's going to require stepping out, maybe of our comfort zone a little bit. It's going to require saying, you know what, I'm going to choose to put some things first. I'm going to choose to make a priority. I'm going to choose to begin doing this because I realize that it's important. It's forming the trajectory of our life, of our family or whatever. I'm going to choose to attend church regularly. I talked last week that there are a lot of benefits to attending service regularly. It doesn't have to be here. It can be somewhere else. Wherever the Word of God is being preached and you're being challenged and encouraged and where you can use your gifts, there's something powerful that comes from that, and there's incredible benefits to that. But here's the deal. If we don't choose to say, this is a priority, this is important, I'm going to make sure that attending regularly is something that I do because I see that it affects my family, and that when I do this and I'm faithful to it and consistent with it, that I grow stronger, my family grows stronger. Why? Because what we do consistently together makes us stronger. I realize that it needs to be a priority. It needs to be something that we do. I'm going to attend. When we say that, but then follow through with it, it really does make a difference. Why? Because when we choose to put something as a priority that's important like that, what happens? It begins to develop positive things, good things in our life. And you might say, well, here's some pushback, Jason. You don't have to attend church to be a Christian. No, you don't. But if you want to grow and be stronger as a believer, listen, you need to regularly be around people that can sharpen you, that can challenge you, that can encourage you. And here's the deal. What you miss out on is using the gifts of God and being developed in the things of God so that you can fulfill the purpose that God has for you. And I just believe that comes by being a part of the local church and allowing the gifts that God's given you to be on display and be able to be used by Him. And here's the deal. What we do is we end up saying, well, I'll attend when it's convenient, or I'll attend when I don't have anything else going on, or I'll attend, when I can make it. If I'm not busy, I'll be there. Ouch, Jason, back up a little bit. You're stepping on my toes. What in the world? Listen, I know I am a little bit here, but listen, it's so important for us to understand that what we tell our family when we have that mentality is that's really not that important. It's only important if there's not anything else going on. It's only important if I can fit it in amidst all the other things that are going on. Well, what is a priority? What is most important? And here's the deal. What are we leaving? What's the legacy? What's the things that we're sharing with our kids? And here's the thing. Most adults, statistics say they want better for their children than they had for themselves. Well, listen, this is a way. It's a way that you can instill in them every time the doors are open. We're going to be there. If at all possible, we're going to be in church. Why? Because hearing from God and allowing others to encourage us and receiving from the ministry of the local church, it's a priority for our family, and we're going to be there if at all possible. That is how we grow stronger as a family. It's how we grow stronger in our relationship with God. That's one of the ways. It's one of the ways. Listen, it's not the absolute all, but it is one way that we say, I'm going to be faithful to the things of God. Maybe it's serving. Maybe you attend regularly, but you're not necessarily serving and using the gifts that God's blessed you with. Listen, there's always opportunities. There's always ways that you can serve and you can use the gifts that God's blessed you with. We want to see that developed. We want to see that happen. Why? Because you begin to make a difference, and a difference is made in you because you're using the gifts that God's blessed you with. You're serving, giving. Listen, we don't push giving all the time here. We give opportunity to give. Here's why: because giving is something between you and God, and when you give, you're blessed. We encourage it. Why? Because God's word encourages it. And when we give consistently, God just blesses. It's a promise in His word. It's a promise. And when we're faithful to give and we're obedient, God blesses. It's just what He does. It flows from who He is. And so here's the deal. We need to challenge ourselves and encourage ourselves. What is it? What does it come down to? It comes down to, I'm going to choose to do these things. I'm going to choose that my life is going to be marked by being obedient to the things that I see in God's word. And I'm going to develop those things in me over time. Over time, it just begins to develop in me. And I can do this. I can begin making this happen. I can take this and begin to see it happen and see the results as I begin to do these things over and over again consistently in my life. I like what Mark Batterson says in one of his books, and I think he got it from somebody else, but he says this: we tend to overestimate what we can do in a year. We tend to underestimate what we can do in 10 years. What does that mean? We tend to think that in a year we can accomplish all these things. And sometimes we overestimate that, and and the reason is because it takes longer than that. But we tend to underestimate what we can do in 10 years. It's amazing when we're consistent over a long period. It's amazing how much we can see accomplished, and it's amazing how much God can do in us when we're consistent. We're consistent. How do we get stronger? We're consistent. Amen? So what we do consistently makes us stronger. It comes down to this. It comes down, I'm going to choose. I will choose. I will choose. I'm going to choose. I will choose. I don't know if that slides in there. I will choose. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 4 different things that are choices, that we have to choose this over this. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of maybe 1 or 2 of these that hits you the most. Where are you at in this the most? Which one of these or 2 of these really impacts you or hits you the most? And say, I'm going to work on this one. I'm going to work on these 2, and I'm going to develop this over the course of this year. I'm going to work on these. Okay? So here we go. The first one is this. And do we have those yet? Okay, working on that? Okay. Here we go. Number 1 is this. Anticipation. I'm going to choose anticipation over procrastination. I'm going to choose anticipation over procrastination. It'll be up on the screen here in a minute, okay? I'm going to choose anticipation over procrastination. What does that mean? What does that look like? What does that say? How many tend to be procrastinators? You don't want to raise your hand? May I get it? Okay, you're thinking about it, or maybe you'll do it later. Anyway. Anticipation over procrastination. We can tend to procrastinate. We can tend to put stuff off. I can, and I've tried to work on that and get better in that area because I can remember my dad saying when I was growing up, and we all have our flaws, and Dad wasn't great in this, and I think he was trying to encourage himself, but he would tell me, he would say, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Don't put off till tomorrow, Jason. If you can do it today, do it today. Don't put it off till tomorrow. And that's so true. We shouldn't put off to tomorrow what we can do today. Don't procrastinate on things. If it's important, do it then. Do it right then. Here's what Ecclesiastes 5:4 says. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it. For he has no pleasure in fools. Really, what's being said there is it's foolish to delay when you can do it right now. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. It's about anticipation. It's looking forward. It's saying, you know what? I think this is something that we need to start doing in our family. It's seeking God and allowing God to challenge you with what's coming up, what's coming next. I think God is constantly looking forward at what is yet to come, and he's constantly challenging us with what's next. What does he want to do next? What does he want to work in us next? And so many times what we want to do is we want to delay. We want to put things off. I'll do that later, or I really should call that person and apologize. I'll do it later, or you know what? I've got this thing going on in our family, and there's some strife, there's some division, and I really need to deal with it, but I'll do it later. No. If it's important, take care of it right then. anticipation instead of procrastination. This is what we're going to choose as a church, as a family. We're going to choose to anticipate, not procrastinate. We're going to say, man, I know that this needs to happen. I'm not going to put it off any longer. I'm going to be faithful to be in church, or I'm going to be faithful to begin doing what God's placed in me to do. God's been speaking to my heart about some things. I'm not going to put it off any longer. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to begin to step out and serve in an area. I'm going to step out and begin using the gifts that God's given me. I'm going to begin to step out and begin to give. God's been challenging me about being faithful to give, and I know I need to do that, but I've been putting it off. I'm not going to put it off any longer. I'm choosing anticipation over procrastination. Not going to procrastinate on it any longer. I'm going to begin to step out in this. I don't know if this is you or not. I don't know if this is where you need to be challenged today. But it hits me. And I know that so often we can say, you know what, I'm just going to put this off for a little bit. Don't do that. Don't delay. Don't delay. Don't delay. I'm going to choose anticipation. Here's the next one. I'm going to choose purpose over pleasure. I'm going to choose purpose over pleasure. In our society today, everything's about pleasure. Everything's about what feels good. What do you want to do? What do you like? What makes you happy? And it's all about these things of pleasure and pleasure and pleasure. And what we end up doing is we end up putting pleasure as a most important thing in our life. Oh man, I got to be happy, or I got to do, and here's the deal is God is less important about our happiness. He's more focused on us fulfilling the purpose that he has for us, because he knows that when we're doing the things that he's called us to do, that's where true happiness falls into place. But so often we think things and experiences and, doing this or having that, that's what really brings happiness. No. We miss it. We miss it when we put pleasure above purpose. Don't put pleasure, comfort, enjoyment, fun, excitement over our purpose. I like how Paul talks about it in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Talks about somebody training and going into training to win the prize. And I love this because I'm competitive already. And so this just gets my competitive juices flowing all that much more. But in verse 24, here's what he says. He says, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way to get the prize. He's saying, listen, try to win. If you're playing a game and you're not trying to win, what in the world are you playing the game for? That's what I think. Sheesh, play to win. Play to win. Run the race to win. Run the race of life to win. Run to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last. It's going to get lost or thrown away or whatever. You don't get to take it with you when you die. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. We do it to get a crown in heaven. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. I don't do it for no reason whatsoever. No, I strike a blow to my body. I discipline my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. What is he saying? He's saying, I'm not going to choose what pleases my flesh first. I'm going to choose what's best first. I'm going to choose the purposes of God first. What's more important? What's more important? What's most important? What are the things that we need to put first in our family, in our careers, in our relationship with God? What's most important? What's most important? So many times we choose pleasure over purpose. We get it backwards. Maybe for you need to think about this. Let's put purpose over pleasure. Third one is this. I will choose the routine over the random. The routine over the random. Here's what I mean by that. I don't mean the boring, the routine, the mundane. No. I'm choosing routine over random. Here's what I mean by this. We get stronger by what we do consistently, right? What we do consistently makes us stronger. Some of us need to develop routine in our life. We need to develop routine. What do athletes do? They're routinely. They go, they run, they work out, they practice, they do the things that they need to do to get better in that area. It's routine. It's over and over and over and over again. Josh talked about it when he was talking to the praise team people and different ones. It's 10,000 hours to master any skill, whether it's athletics or whether it's music, whatever. 10,000 hours, they say, if you want to master something, you got to put in the hours, and you can't get around it. You got to put in the hours. It takes time, and it's routine. It's over and over and over again, doing it. It's what makes us stronger. We develop that skill. Some of us need to develop the routine of daily. I'm going to spend time with God. I'm going to open my Bible, or I'm going to get on my YouVersion Bible app, and I'm going to allow it to read to me, or I'm going to read the verse of the day, whatever. I'm going to develop routine. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to develop the routine of our family. We go to church. We're in church. When the doors open, we're in church. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to choose routine over random. I'm not just going to hit or miss there. And you know what? Some of us, that's kind of our personality. Where's the wind gonna blow me today? And I tend to be more here's what we're gonna do, the planner in our family and all that kind of stuff. My wife, she's the woohoo, let's just do wherever we're gonna go today, we're gonna have fun doing it, and it's gonna be great. And that's okay. I need that balance in my life. She needs me to just bring her a little more structure, and we work great together most times. We work great. But here's the deal. There has to be a certain level of routine of, God, I'm going to make sure that I'm spending time. And I have a ton of routine in my life. I have a ton of routine. It's kind of my personality, but I have a ton of routine. And when I get up in the morning, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Go, do the same thing getting ready in the morning, do the same thing going to the kitchen in the morning, do the same thing as I'm leaving to go to work. It's the same thing. And a big part of that is because I don't want to forget anything. I'm getting older real quick, and I start forgetting. But if I have routine, if it's consistent, if it's something I do all the time, it's just natural. It's just what I do. And some of us need to develop that. I spend time with God. I'm disciplined. I spend time with God. I'm disciplined. I spend time seeking God. I'm disciplined. I spend time reading God's word. It's routine. It's clockwork. This is who I am. I'm a follower of Christ, not just in word. I'm not just a Christian, on Facebook or whatever. I'm a follower of Christ because that's who I am. I'm a follower of Christ, and it impacts what I do. It's part of my life. It's routine. It's what I do. I'm not just randomly, beating there or chasing the wind or whatever it is. I don't just, I'm not a Christian just when it feels good or when I like it or when I want to. No. Developing routine. I think one of the greatest at this that we could look at in Scripture is Daniel. Daniel, when we think of Daniel, we think of Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel was a young man, a teenager, and I talked about this a few weeks ago, but Daniel was a teenager, and his community, his city was overthrown by the Babylonians. He was taken to Babylon as a captive, and they took the young men because they felt like they could develop them and train them and make them what they wanted. And Daniel was one of them, and he began to just impress the people, the leaders around Babylon there because of his wisdom and the things of God that was in his life that just began to come out in him. And he was exceptional. He stood out, and he just continued to climb the ladder of success. And anytime you do that, there will be people that will, try to knock you down and try to bring you down because they're jealous. And that's what was happened to Daniel. And so these guys were like, you know what? We can't find anything against him. He doesn't do anything wrong, but he always prays to his God. And so we're going to get the king to say, you can't do that anymore. You only can pray to the king, and that'll stroke his ego, make us look good, and we'll get Daniel at the same time. And so they got the king, tricked the king into passing this decree. And here's what Daniel did. In Daniel 6:10, he says, "Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows were open toward Jerusalem 3 times a day." How often? 3 times a day. Routine. 3 times a day. He got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God. I love this part. Just as he had done before. Just as he had done before. Just as he had done before. Consistency. He was strong in the things of God. Why did he rise to the top? Because consistency in the things of God. He developed routine in his life. He was consistent. 3 times a day, he sought God. Why? Because that was most important. It was more important than spending time just developing relationship with people and trying to finagle his way to the top. No. He realized God's the one who brings promotion. God's the one who brings success. And I'm going to have a routine in my life that I'm going to seek him first. Why? Because that's where the things that I really want come from. When we choose routine over the random, what happens? We begin to develop the good things in our life. And when we go to God and say, God, I'm struggling, we need this in our life, it's because of the faithfulness. God sees the faithfulness, and he said, I'm faithful to those who are faithful. Listen, routine is not a bad thing. It's not mundane. It's not boring. When we develop routine that are good in our life, what happens is we see the blessing of God begin to flow in our life. We see the good things begin to happen. I'm going to develop good routines, good habits. I'm going to do the routine. I'm going to choose routine over the random. That's a whole lot better than you're letting on, but I'm going to move on anyway. Lastly is this. I'm going to choose to be an example over an excuse. I'm going to choose example over excuse. I'm real good at making excuses when I want to. Anybody else? I can make excuses with the best of them. Man, I can usually come up with some kind of excuse why I couldn't do this or why I didn't do that. We as people can be good at making excuses. It comes natural, it seems like. Even my kids at a young age. Hey, why didn't you? Well, I didn't feel like it at that time, or whatever, excuse, blame or shift or whatever. We can be good at making excuses. But instead of developing an excuse nature, because we can develop an excuse nature. You know what an excuse nature is? If you begin thinking of an excuse before you ever get to the point of having to make that decision, you're developing an excuse nature. Like if during the week you're like, oh man, I got church this weekend, are you kidding me? Surely there's something going on Sunday that I can use as an excuse to not be there. Or, oh man, we got to go over to the in-laws this weekend. Are you kidding me? What's an excuse? I got to work on the car, something. I got a good excuse. I can come up with an excuse. I hear some chuckling because I think there's probably some of you out there that are a lot like me that you think about excuses ahead of time. Anybody else? Yeah, you think about excuses ahead of time? Come on now. I like the honesty. Listen, maybe this is yours right here. And you're going to say, you know what? No more excuses. No more excuses. I'm not going to keep making excuses why I can't do what I know I need to start doing. I'm not going to keep making excuses why I can't, get more healthy. I'm not going to keep making excuses why I keep charging up credit card debt and I can't pay it off. I'm not going to keep making excuses why I can't be faithful to church. I'm not going to keep making excuses why we can't give the way that we know that we're supposed to give and be obedient in giving to God what is His first so that my finances can be blessed. I'm not going to keep making excuses why this and why that, why my kids don't serve God. I'm not going to keep making excuses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be the example. I'm going to be the example and be the example. And it may take time. It may take years. It may take years of being the example before those around me start to get it. It may take me being an example before it starts really getting into my own heart. But I'm going to choose to be the example over the excuse. I'm not going to keep making excuses about things. I'm going to be an example. 1 Corinthians 11:1, Paul said, "Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ." That's a big statement right there. But you know what? With Christ, all things are possible. We can be an example of the things of God, not because we're all that great, but because He is, amen? And because when we invite Christ to be a part of it, and we're saying, you know what, I'm going to be an example and quit making excuses. If I fail, if I fall short, you know what? I missed it right there. I messed up, but I'm not a mistake. I am a follower of Christ, and His life flows through me, and I don't have to continue to keep making those mistakes, and I don't have to continue to make excuses. I'm going to be an example. And I'm going to be an example to all those around me, to my friends, to my family, and especially to those in my own household. I'm going to be a hero in my home, and I'm going to be an example of the things of God with the things that I think, the things that I say, and the things that I do. My actions are going to stand up to who I choose to be and who I declare that I am. I'm a follower of Christ, and my actions are going to prove it. I'm not going to, make going to church or doing the things that God I know has placed on my heart to do and fulfilling the gifts and the callings that are on my heart. I'm not just going to do those things when it's convenient. I'm not going to do those things when nothing else is going on or, I don't put something else in front of the things of God. I am going to choose that every time I can, I'm going to be in church. I'm going to be in church. I'm going to serve God faithfully. I'm going to let the things of God that He's put inside me, the calling, the gifts, they are going to be on display. Why? Because I'm an example. I'm not going to make excuses. I choose to be an example. I choose to be like Paul. Follow me as I follow Christ. Not because I'm perfect, but because He is. And when you follow the things of God and when you follow Christ, your life will be blessed. You will be able to see the amazing things that God can do. Why? Because God's good. He's a good God, and He wants good for you. And I'm just an example of that. Just an example of that. He wants good for us. I'm just an example of the goodness of God, the grace of God, because I don't deserve any of it. I don't deserve the goodness of God in my life because I've messed up way too many times to deserve it. I'm so thankful it's not because of what I deserve. It's because of who He is. It's because of who He is. He's a good God. He loves me. He loves you. And He is working those things, the good things of God on the inside of me. And I can say for sure, I'm going to live to be an example of the things of God. I'm going to live to be an example. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to make excuses. If I mess up, if I fail, if I don't do things right, and I probably will. Let's just be real. I probably will. I will probably let you down at some point. But you know what? It's not hard for me to stand up and say, you know what, I missed it here. I'm sorry. I fell short. The flesh got the best of me here. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I choose to be an example moving forward in that area. Amen? We can do that in our homes. Dads, we can choose and should from time to time say, you know what, I'm sorry. I got angry here, or I messed up there, or I said some things here I shouldn't have said. I missed it. But you know what? I'm going to be an example because I'm going to apologize. I'm going to say, I'm sorry. That was wrong. I'm going to get better. I'm I'm going to get stronger, and consistently, I'm going to show you what it means to be an example of the things of God. Listen, that's who we're called to be. That's who we're called to be. That's what we're called to do. I'm going to be an example. I'm not going to make excuses any longer. I'm going to be an example. Amen. Listen, I don't know where these may hit you. I don't know what one or two of these you say, you know what, man, I need to dig in, and I need to start putting action behind these things, not just saying it, not just thinking. I'm gonna start living this out. It's who I'm supposed to be. It's who I'm called to be. It's the church of Jesus Christ. What would it look like if the church lived this out across the board? I think it would be a church that a lot of people would love to see, love to come to, and love to experience the things of God. Amen. We're getting stronger. Stronger. Why? Because we're going to be consistent. We're going to be consistent in choosing to do what God's called us to do in these areas. Choosing what's best. Choosing what's best. God, I thank you for what you're doing in us.